briefly early, like it's basically universal staking protocol. So meaning it should encompass all the infrastructure or chains that you want to build that need the staking mechanism. Even like use cases that go beyond proof of stakes. When I was studying finance, I realized, okay, actually sort of Ethereum came along, the Ethereum white paper, and I was like, wow, okay, maybe you can actually build this like as smart contracts, what they're describing there, and it would be more
GM, my friend, how are you today? I'm here with Felix. He's the head of our ecosystem at Symbiotic. We are at the staking summit, Token2049 Dubai. Before we dive in what exactly is Symbiotic, I would say is universal staking. But I want to know exactly who is Felix, how did you end up in this rabbit hole, why crypto, what did you do before crypto and everything?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. Thanks for grabbing me here at the Staking Summit. It's a very busy event as always. So good to get a chance to sit down and talk a bit about the career that I had here. I think I have like a background in finance, and I started to early look into like the internet as well, like how things work on the internet, you know, distributed torrenting systems like that. Also like privately from like streaming movies and games. And when I was studying finance, I realized, okay, actually sort of Ethereum came along, the Ethereum white paper, and I was like, wow, okay, maybe you can actually build this like as smart contracts, what they're describing there, and it would be more decentralized, less extractive. And I got like excited about that vision of the future. So I decided to try and work in that field. You know, I was like kind of out of uni directly trying to find like some place to work in crypto as a non-technical person. I mean, I'm pretty technical in terms of like protocol stuff, but not
deep.
Yeah. And so I ended up, in the validator space and staking, and, you know, was working on liquid staking and sort of this convergence, I would say, of DeFi and like the infrastructure that runs the servers. And that's still kind of what I do today on a day-to-day basis, sort of trying to build systems and scale systems that can actually be decentralized and that can have like sort of in protocol mechanisms to keep this economy running. And
and how did you exactly ended up working with Symbiotic? Because you guys just raised Series A right now, 29 millions. Symbiotic is on mainnet. How did you end up working with them?
Yeah, so I was before at Course One, which is a node operator. I was the chief commercial officer there. I left that position in the summer of 2023, I want to say. And then I did a bit of a break. I was looking at like restaking heavily. I was actually also working with some projects in the LRT and restaking space back then. Just advising and consulting a bit. And then I sort of learned about the Symbiotic founders and team starting out and joined as kind of the first hire on the business side to run with the ecosystem building effort, which is something that I had experience on building also, for example, sdSOL on Solana, the Lido on Solana, and the actual founders of Symbiotic, they had built dots on Polkadot. So we kind of knew each other, and that came together and sort of was a fit. So now, 1 year later, or like a bit more than a year later, we're live on mainnet. We raised the Series A. We have around 14 teams live on the platform, and like 20 or so more building with our primitives. But overall, still quite early. Excited to grow further.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the crypto space is just very small, and everybody knows like everybody, especially on the infrastructure side.
Yeah.
But for the people out there who don't know, what exactly is Symbiotic?
Yeah, so you mentioned briefly earlier, like it's basically universal staking protocol. So meaning it should encompass all the infrastructure or chains that you want to build that need the staking mechanism, even like use cases that go beyond proof of stake. So for example, like insurance, anywhere where you want to like have a token that should be locked and should be like held as collateral for some form of system, then you can use Symbiotic as the like framework to build that on. We designed Symbiotic basically in this highly modular way so that you can take the security from different assets. You can have different slashing logic where basically you can specify how you trigger slashing events, but you can also specify what you do when the asset was slashed. Is it going to be redistributed maybe to other parties in the system, or is it going to be burnt? So like all that is basically up to builders that are building on the universal staking framework, and that allows them to build complex systems that otherwise would have taken them way longer to build from scratch. And for example, now you can basically launch a standard POS chain. You can launch it very quickly. Like,
so basically, you have all the components. You just need to align them because they are modular, but you can do it in your own way.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's still like stuff that we are also like building out and that are like still maturing, let's say, as the modules, but there are already like some of the core modules already there, like staking, like slashing, like rewards. But all these things can be very modified. You can have staking rewards just paid out evenly between all the stakers and operators based on their stake. But you can also imagine systems that take into account the performance of the operators and stuff. So there's still like ways to customize that, and essentially from our perspective, the core contracts, we're trying to keep it as unopinionated as possible so that people building on top can sort of come up with their own module, their own expressive ideas of how to actually leverage the system.
And right now you said you have 20 apps live that are building on top of Symbiotic.
Yeah.
I also saw earlier on the panel at the staking summit right now, and other panels as well, that there is a lot of focus on the BTC narrative. And I know you guys are going to integrate some of the BTC-fied stuff. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so I mean, clearly a lot of the use cases, especially outside of proof of stake, but also within kind of proof of stake, they want to use Bitcoin as collateral because it's like a high monetary premium. It's like very, and it doesn't cost much to provide some yield on Bitcoin because you're not competing with so many other opportunities. So like it should be relatively cheap as a collateral asset. And that makes it like interesting for many use cases that kind of try to optimize for that. And then also like, I guess a lot of projects want to maybe attract the Bitcoin community and ecosystem and want to align with Bitcoin. So they want to use Bitcoin as a collateral asset. And really what we enable on Symbiotic for this is kind of providing this programmability layer where a lot of the systems that are currently like what you can do directly on Bitcoin is very, very limited, right? And even many of the projects that try to build on BitVM or like some of the newer potential tech that comes out to make Bitcoin more programmable, that's all like still like in the making. Versus like on Symbiotic, yeah, we're already like live. There is all the slashing and the capabilities there. And we already have like some Bitcoin assets on Ethereum, right, that you can use. So
yeah, WBTC
and like LBTC and like TBTC, not many, and some are like with different trust assumptions, of course, but they are there, and that means they can be leveraged already today, basically for us, which is quite exciting, and I think where we see ourselves involved in. Although I would say like generally still like also lots of other assets, ETH-based assets, ERC20 tokens, governance tokens of projects in general. Like universal staking really tries to be like as broad as possible, right? Like kind of covering all the potential tokens, and especially also mix of tokens. If you want to have a system that has like Bitcoin staking and Ethereum staking and your governance token, like you can compose it on Symbiotic, and yeah, maybe make.
And it's a big part in the whole chain abstraction, and actually to not have that issue with the liquidity fragmentation that we have nowadays, right?
Yeah, like yeah, it can help to like kind of aggregate or bring together these fragmented systems again.
Yeah. And what would you say is the number one focus for Symbiotic right now? Is it onboarding new apps to build on top of Symbiotic, bring liquidity? What do you think is the biggest focus?
Yeah, right now it's like definitely still bringing on new builders to use the primitives. We on our side are doing that by building more tooling that makes it easier to launch networks. So we are about to come out with a newer version of our SDK that will like basically makes it very straightforward to launch a network and compose the vaults and all the infrastructure that we have. There is also, we are investing in our ecosystem team is growing, like so my team and we're helping teams go to market basically, so like also ideating on their use case.
I think that's the biggest issue in crypto right now, PMF and go to market.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like we're seeing some people experimenting with our primitives in a way that we see as like promising, like, you know, like also insurance or other risk underwriting things. And like, we're interested especially in those new use cases also. Of course, still also the infrastructure use case, kind of the classic proof of stake, like Oracle's interop. And we also see some new stuff coming that are more like DeFi native, let's say, or like DeFi focused, like insurance. And we think because of like all the new capital coming in, Bitcoin as a collateral coming in, just the capital efficiency also of restaking, that like maybe these insurance use cases can now become more like can actually work. Because before, in the last cycles when we had insurance protocols trying to be built, often they were struggling because they had to be over collateralized, or they were maybe, you know, just the market wasn't ready to be insured. But now that it's become more mature and more institutions are coming, like these kind of products become more important, and it seems like the timing is right, or but gets better for this kind of project.
And especially in the decentralized finance. I mean, people don't really understand DeFi right now, and why should they have DeFi? But I think it's very important to have money markets and actually take loans in DeFi rather than CeFi, where you don't have custody over your funds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I think you can see Morpho and all these new money markets also, or Aave, still keeping like a lot of traction, and these products being used quite widely nowadays, right? And I think that's like kind of one core primitive, like lending and borrowing, right? And we think like, you know, staking is another very important one, and staking is kind of insurance even on the infrastructure side, but it can also work on DeFi, right? So that's kind of where we see it right now, and where we see our place in the like sort of DeFi money Lego puzzle. Yeah.
Is Symbiotic gonna have a token? Because I'm not sure, I don't know why.
It's not yet. There's no, we obviously have the points program running, so like I guess there is some expectation of that, but yeah, we're working on first the core contracts and the protocol, and trying to like, you know, figure out where it goes from there. So it'll all be kind of aligned with the infrastructure. That's how we.
I mean, for me, talking with a lot of builders, I think it's more important to actually have your own product that should be functional, to have an ecosystem, to have the proper partners, to have TVL, but not TVL that's just sitting around there. Then actually let's hurry and launch a token, like we've seen other countries doing, especially when the market is not doing so well like right now. Because let's face it, you can launch a token, but if the launch is not successful, it can destroy what you've worked. It's out. So better to expect to launch it when the time is right.
Yeah, it's a gift, and it can do both things for you, right? It helps.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah, double-edged sword. That's true. Exactly.
Yeah. Besides Symbiotic, restaking, BTC, what else are you bullish on the crypto market?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I think still also a lot the stablecoin space is taking off, at least, like actually people using crypto rails for their day-to-day banking and transaction needs. I think that's kind of coming through stablecoins. I think there's also a danger there where like some of the stablecoin platforms and issuers, it's very centralized tech and kind of opposite to the crypto ethos, where like we sort of accepted it a little bit, where we're like, oh, okay, we need this to get like our systems adopted and something's happening. But at the same time, I think, we can do probably better than a lot that's out there and create more other interesting decentralized stablecoin mechanisms maybe that can like live fully on chain instead of just giving it all to like some centralized issuers. So I'm still excited about that, but you can definitely see that market is at least bringing like users in now.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, the stablecoin narrative is one of the most constant narratives out there, especially in, I don't know, LATAM, Africa, or it's always growing, it's always gonna have PMF.
Right.
People are gonna use it, it's not a pump and dump scheme, it's not a Ponzi, it's real, it's out there. People just need to figure out exactly how they're gonna use it and be integrated directly into your Apple Pay, let's take for example.
Yeah, it becomes like the product is then more about these Web 2 elements and stuff like that, right? Like the back end is kind of probably going to be done already for the Web 3 companies. So yeah, I think there's still a lot to do there. I think for us, it's like also stablecoins as a collateral asset in Symbiotic is still very interesting for maybe teams that want to use collateral that's stable, that's not as, volatile as some of the crypto assets. We haven't seen like too much stuff there yet, but I'm expecting that to also grow. So if anyone's building on like stuff staking for stablecoin use cases, then feel free to hit me up and we'll be jamming on that.
Change takes time, Before we wrap this up, because I don't want to take more of your time, because I value your time and you have a busy week ahead of you. What's one piece of advice you would give out to founders or to somebody that wants to get on board on Symbiotic, or in general, who wants to enter this rapid whole crypto space?
Yeah. I think normally it's like people are very approachable and like you can ask them. You can reach to them and you can ask them for advice if you're like interested. And that's what I would say. It's often like easier than you think especially if you have interesting questions or you really care about specific things, then people will take the time. It's still a very small space and we need like more people building in it. So anyone that's like in it for the right reasons, like I think I get recognized quickly and then you can quickly get a job, you can quickly start a project. If you're in for the right reasons, I would say.
And I feel that this is one kind of industry where we can send a cold DM to a founder and actually he's gonna answer you. Of course, not sending him GM or something, but with an actual question that makes sense or something, rather than a Web 2 industry or something. Not gonna call DM Bezos is gonna answer you,
You need to be more creative and for that one.
Exactly. Anything else you want to say for the Symbiotic community or for the general crypto community before we wrap this up?
I think it's infrastructure, it takes time. We're like, don't be fooled by quick gains or the market cycles. I feel like many people that have been in it for a while, they know it moves in cycles, so don't get discouraged and stay on it. If it's like valuable, if it should exist, then it will exist and should be built. And as long as you have the builder energy, good things will happen. So
thank you for
my pleasure.
have a good.
Thank you.